It has been a while I made a video on my portal. Let me talk briefly. It's going to be very brief. Let me talk briefly about education, industrialization, and agriculture. And for the past 5 decades, this has been an issue that has been discussed in Nigeria. Since I'm talking about Nigeria, I'll try to compare industrialization, education, and agriculture between Nigeria and a few African countries. The main reason we have unemployment and poverty in Nigeria today to a large extent is tied to excessive dependence on imports into the economy. I'll explain this very briefly. The imports we import practically everything into the country, from toothpick to needles to chewing gum to paper pen to even food we eat. We import all these things into the country. Now, no country that has this kind of large scale importation into the country ever solves the unemployment problem. So we will continue to have so many youths that do not have jobs because we run a country that is based on consumption and not a country that is based on production. Now, we import practically everything, and that has to stop. Now, I want you to understand this. The more import dependent an economy is, the higher the demand for foreign exchange. And if it is not properly managed, like the case we have in Nigeria now, the higher the rate of unemployment and poverty. The argument has been that we need to move towards import substitution industrialization. I'll take my time to explain this briefly. What this means is that we need to save more money if we produce some of the things we currently import. In the process of doing that, we build industries that will create jobs. But the problem is this: if we do not have the capacity to produce or to be a producing economy, because right now we're a consumption economy, if we do not have that capacity to produce things that we need, then we continue to spend so much on foreign exchange, and this also has a direct effect on unemployment. So the question you want to ask, which most young people have asked me on different portals, is why are we not a producing economy like the Japanese, the Americans, or the Chinese? The answer is simple: bad and visionless leadership. We have a leadership that does not strategize. It only takes a visionary leader to plan or have a strategy for development. Take example like a country like Dubai. Dubai is what it is today because at a point in their development, they had a leadership that had a vision, and this leadership adopted a strategy to implement the vision. I want you to take note of that line: adopting a strategy to implement a vision, because this adoption of a strategy has been the main problem why Nigeria has not moved forward. Our problem start and end with the ability of those who have the vision to run it through a strategy. But over the years, I can tell you with confidence that industrialization fails in Nigeria because it is not defined. Let me give you a simple example. Let's use something like a garment factory. Let's compare a country like Ethiopia and Nigeria. In the past, when I compare Nigeria with developed countries, you say, why compare with developed countries? Let's talk about Ethiopia. When Ethiopian government decided to enter the garment industry, just like most Nigerian governments have done, they had a defined strategy. First, they offered a duty-free import opportunity for investors. Second, they made sure that energy, listen carefully, energy in Ethiopia was cheap and competitive, and they loosened excessive regulations on foreign investors. Now, listen to this. They partnered, it's very important you get this. They partnered with major fashion retailers like H&M, Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, JCPenney, Wrangler, Lee, and several other clothing lines to set up their garment factory. So ab initio, the Ethiopian government, before they even bought the first machinery, they knew exactly what the fashion houses needed. So they bought machinery in line with what the retail houses needed. They did not just go out to buy machinery, build a factory, and then expect that these retail houses will come on board. No, it does not work that way. They consulted first, and that is where we miss it in Nigeria. So another thing the Ethiopians did was they also took note of technology right from the beginning of their investments. They took note of the latest technology and how it applies to design. So the Ethiopian government built industrial parks. They made sure that the parks all had facilities. They built warehouses within the parks. This was how industrialization and the garment factory kicked off in Ethiopia. Now, to meet the demands of major retailers, one of the things the Ethiopian government did was they set up an institute, the Ethiopian Textile Industry Development Institute. What the institute did was they trained young, educated Ethiopians on how to become managers of the textile industry. So they were trained in line with the demand and specification of what the retail stores wanted. So at the end of the day, when the Ethiopians were ready, the factories were up. It did not even take them up to 9 months. You had all the major brands like H&M, Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, JCPenney, Wrangler, Lee, they all moved their production to Ethiopia. This is what we mean by business strategy. To get these things right, it's not just to build a factory, it's to have a strategy and follow the strategy through. You have what we call the short-term strategic plan and the long-term strategic plan. In all industrial projects I have seen so far in Nigeria, this is where we miss it. We think of concepts, we invest in concepts, but at the end of the day, we have no strategy. Now, another thing the Ethiopian government did that got my attention was that they trained their workers. The workers were trained specifically on specific designs. This is how industrialization works. So we fail in Nigeria, not because the garment industry in Nigeria is not lucrative. We fail because we have no defined business strategy. We get into industrialization in Nigeria all because of politics, not because we want to create an economy that is based on production. To those who follow me on social media, you now understand why I often make the argument that we should elect leaders that have sense, not leaders that have degrees. You can have degrees and still don't have market sense and still do not understand the international system and how international markets are designed to work. To those who follow me on social media, you see why I endorse Peter Obi. I've listened to him severally speak on television. I've listened to him. He understands the market. And that has been the missing link in our governments over the years. The bulk of Nigerian leaders I've met over the years really do not understand how these things work. And they put themselves in this position that you cannot advise them. And that is why Nigeria continues to go under the drain. Nigeria will continue in perpetual poverty and high unemployment until we decide to do things the right way. Let me talk briefly about agriculture. Let me use Sierra Leone as a typical example. We have very fertile soil, massive manpower, yet we cannot feed ourselves. In 2020, Sierra Leone registered the highest contribution of the agricultural sector in the gross domestic product. That was about 61%. The Sierra Leoneans had a definite agricultural strategy. Again, you see the word I keep using, strategy. Between 2015 and 2017, the government of Sierra Leone intentionally, listen, embarked on land reforms policy. This made land available to all those who wanted to go into agriculture. Next, the Sierra Leonean government embarked on a national fertilizer policy. This is where we miss it in Nigeria. They made fertilizer available to the rural people in the villages. Through government-funded research institute. They set up about 6 in their countries. And what the Sierra Leoneans did that is different from what Nigeria did is they decentralized agriculture. What that means is the local farmer in the village is not dealing with a central government. The local farmer is dealing with the local government. The local farmer is not even dealing with the state government. So agriculture is decentralized, brought to the local level. The local farmer can easily access seeds. The local farmer can easily access fertilizers. The local farmer can even access funding for their farms through their local government. This is where we missed it in Nigeria. We over-centralize everything at the central government, making it so difficult for these things to trickle down to the end. Now, Sierra Leoneans decentralize, and we can see the result of their decentralization. 61% of their GDP is agriculturally based. So when we talk to Nigerian government about restructuring, this is what we mean. It's not all about politics. We are talking about restructuring the economy, restructuring production. So instead of our politicians to understand restructuring from a production and distribution point of view, they rather interpret it using ethnic and religious lenses and make it look like restructuring is purely a political tool to seize power. It is not. Nigeria cannot move forward without restructuring. Development experts all over the world, they generally agree on the fact that import substitution industrialization is the way forward for Africa. And the government has to play a direct role in the entire social production, distribution, and logistical system in the industrialization process. Although most Western institutions would argue against import substitution, but they only do that to benefit their market. They will quickly argue that Africa does not have the capacity to engage in international markets from an export perspective. They prefer that African economies continue to produce primary goods, which they set the prices, and continue to import finished goods without any tariff restrictions. A situation that creates massive unemployment for most African countries. Some African countries have been wise, like in Rwanda, in Ghana, and even Cameroon. If you look at the GDP of these countries, they are all doing far better than Nigeria. Nigeria will overcome the food crisis when we decide to decentralize agriculture. Nigeria will overcome the security crisis when we decide to decentralize security. And not only that, even the decentralization of budgets. So decentralization should not only be seen as a political tool. We should also talk about strict decentralization of the budget. So we need to strengthen local council and send our very best to run agencies at the local level. This is one of the things being done in Seychelles. This is one of the things being done in Sierra Leone. Two most industrialized countries in Africa today, Mauritius and Seychelles. Based on Human Development Index, these are the only African countries listed comfortably in the United Nations Development Program. So when you want to study industrialization, look at industrialization from in a country like Seychelles. What are they doing right? Or look at Mauritius. What are they doing right that Nigeria can copy? Mauritius started with import substitution industrialization. That means they started producing goods in their own country and they moved on to export-oriented industrialization. They produced in their local economy, they took care of the tariff regime, and at a point they were producing so much that they could export. The key to development is economic diversification. In Nigeria, we have crude oil, we produce crude oil, but it has become practically impossible for us to diversify even to agriculture. And even if we have to diversify to agriculture, we have no strategy. Mauritius, they have a life expectancy of 75 years in Africa and a literacy rate of 91%. They are the highest in Africa. They have free health, they have free education up to the age of 18. Listen, my people, and listen very well. I intentionally used African countries as examples. We have no reason to be poor. Our problems will be half solved if we start electing leaders that have sense. We cannot continue to bask on ignorance and ethnicity and continue to be led by people who have no capacity even to lead out. We can have a good life because it is a choice. For Nigeria to move forward, we need a government with sense. We have to be able to differentiate leaders with education and degrees from leaders with common sense. Development is a choice. The good life is a choice. We are a product of the type of leaders we elect. We need visionary leaders who can come on board with a defined strategy. It is not about how much money you have. It is how well you manage that money. And I think this is one of the reasons I decided to support Peter Obi. He comes in to manage our money. I'll talk on some other topics as time goes on, but for now, let me stop so far. I am Prince Will Odidi. Thank you and God bless you all. Follow me on my YouTube channel, Prince Will Odidi. Thank you.